Hey guys, last lesson you were introduced to piecewise functions, and today we're going to graph some piecewise functions. So take a look at this first function. So f of x equals, now remember, a piecewise function literally breaks your function into pieces, and it's going to break our graph into pieces. Okay, we're going to have two separate graphs. They could come together, they could meet, or they could just be two separate graphs that kind of look like they have nothing to do with each other, but they're on the same graph. So take a look up here. So one function is negative 2 times x. We use that function if x is less than 0. And then the other function is x squared, and we use that for values between 0 and 3, including the 0, but not including the 3. Okay? So the first thing I like to do is I like to make a t-chart for each one of these. So x, y, and this is going to be my negative 2x piece. And then x squared, I'm going to have a t-chart for that. All right, so this is x squared. Now, the trick is, what numbers do I put in the function? Okay, let me start with the x squared one to kind of explain this a little bit. So we are supposed to use this function for values between 0 and 3, including 0, but not including 3. So I'm going to use 0, I'm going to use 1, I'm going to use 2, but what do I do then? Because I'm not supposed to stop at 2, I'm supposed to use every value up to 3. So I need to include 2.5 and 2.7 and 2.99999. So here's how we handle that. We're going to put a 3 in. And that's going to bother some people because this clearly says that we're not supposed to use 3. But we're going to put a 3 in. But when we graph this, we're going to make this an open circle. And then that'll take care of the fact that we're not really using that point. We're just seeing where does the graph go as we get closer and closer and closer and closer to that value. Okay? So for the 0, we want the 0. So this will be a closed circle. And then that'll be an open circle. And then that should kind of help with what we're going to do on this one. This one says we're supposed to use this function for values less than 0. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. But also as we get closer and closer and closer to 0. So we are going to start with 0. But that's going to be an open circle. And then negative 1, negative 2, so on. Okay, so these are my x values that I need for each t-chart. If I plug a 0 into negative 2x, I'm going to get a 0. If I plug in a negative 1, I'm going to get 2. And if I plug in a negative 2, I'm going to get 4. And then this is going to keep going, right? I want everything, so this will go on forever and ever and ever. So that piece of the graph is going to look like this. It's going to start at 0, 0, so it's going to start at the origin. So open circle. And then negative 1, 2, negative 2, 4, and then it's just going to go on and on. So like that. That's what that piece of this function looks like. Now I'm going to do this t-chart. Okay, so I'm going to plug in a 0. That's 0. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. All right, so 0, 0, I'm supposed to have a closed circle. So the closed circle is going to fill in the open circle. Okay, so if 2 points coincide with each other and one's open and the other one's closed, it's going to fill in the other circle. All right, so I've got 0, 0, I've got 1, 1, I've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that should be an open circle at the end. Now, this is x squared, so this should look like a parabola, so it's going to be a curve. And that's it. That's what our graph's going to look like. What is the domain of that function? Well, you may be able to tell by looking at it, but you can also tell by this. This tells you the domain. This is the domain of this function, and this is the domain of that function. If you put those together, so everything from negative infinity up to 3, but not including the 3, that is our domain. What's our range? Well, it's everything from 0, so look at our y values. It's everything from 0, but then that arrow says that it's going to go forever and ever and ever up So it's everything from 0, including the 0, to infinity. Are there any intercepts? Yes. There's 0, 0. And then is f continuous? Continuous means that there's no breaks, there's no gaps, there's no starting and stopping. This graph, if you traced it, you could trace it with a pencil without ever having to lift your pencil. And if that doesn't quite make sense, I'll show you an example on the next one, and then it will make sense. So yes, this is continuous on this domain. So is it continuous forever? No, it stops right here. But our domain says it's supposed to stop right there. But in between, there's no gaps or breaks or anything. Okay, so that's the graph of that piecewise function. The next one has 3 graphs. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 t-charts. I'm going to do an x squared t-chart. So xy. I'm going to do a 3 t-chart. So this is just the constant 3. And then x plus 2. X plus 2. All right, so first thing, let's figure out what values are going to go into each of these t-charts. For x squared, I'm supposed to use everything from -2 to 0, including the -2, not including the 0. So -2, -1, 0, closed circle, open circle. That's how we're going to handle that. Okay. For this one, we only use this constant when x equals 0. That's it. That's the only thing. And then the next one says we're supposed to use this one for values greater than 0. So again, I'm going to start at 0. You always use these endpoints, and then you make a decision as to whether you really want to include that endpoint or whether it's going to be an open circle. So in this case, it's going to be open, and then I need some numbers bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one goes forever. Okay? This one starts and stops. This one is literally just 1 point. The function equals 3 only when x equals 0. So that's going to be the point 0, 3, and then that's it. And then this one starts with an open circle, and then we'll go forever because it's all values greater. All right, so -2 squared is 4. -1 squared is 1. 0 squared is 0. So I need an open circle, and then I need -1, 1. I need -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's it. It's a x squared, so this is like a piece of a parabola, so there should be a bit of a curve to it. Then I'm going to graph 0, 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. It's just a point. And then this one, x plus 2. So start at 0, 0 plus 2, 1 plus 2, 2 plus 2, and goes on and on and on. I'm going to start at 0, 2, 1, 2, open circle. 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is just a straight line going this way. Okay, so that's our graph. Now, notice that we put there's 3 values on top of each other. This does pass the vertical line test. These open circles mean that those are not points. So we have this point, and then we have these 2 open circles, so there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? What's our domain? Well, our domain is everything from -2 to 0, and everything bigger than 0. So it's everything from -2 to infinity. Our range the lowest is 0. Now, we don't include the 0 because of that open circle, but it does include everything to infinity. So 0, parenthesis, infinity. Any intercepts? This is not an intercept, this is not an intercept, but that is. So 0, 3 is a y-intercept. And then is f continuous on its domain? So this is what I was talking about. If you were to trace this, you would trace this, but then you have to pick up your pencil to do that point, then you have to pick up your pencil again. So that's what it means to be continuous. There's no breaks or gaps. So no, this is not continuous. And that's it. Okay, so take a look at your worksheet, try some of those on your own, and let me know if you have any questions.